Well, hello and welcome to Festival Hangouts. My name's Connie Jehlik. I'm Instruction Director for the United States Pony Clubs, and this is 3 questions with Connie. Well, the first question I have is, how do you safely hang a water bucket? Now, maybe at home, you never have the opportunity or need to hang a water bucket. Maybe you have big tubs or automatic water or by a stream, who knows? Everybody's situation is different. But when you go to a show, and especially a show where you're going to be there for multiple nights, or a rally, a pony club rally, and it is an overnight rally, then if the horses are stabled in either an outside pen or in a stall, they need to have a water supply. So we do recommend, or require actually, that you have 2 5-gallon buckets. And I'll show you the difference between a 2-gallon and 5-gallon, because sometimes that's a little bit of confusion. And I'll show you also some ways in which, or items you can use to hang a bucket safely, and things maybe that aren't safe and are used for other things to hang, like fans and so on. Okay, so the question is, how do you hang a water bucket safely? All right, so let me show you 2 examples. Move the camera here, and the first 2 that I have set up are both flat back buckets. The green bucket here is 2 gallons. That's 2 gallons. It's small, great for a pony, but it's not 5 gallons. So if all you had was small little buckets like that, you may have to have at least 3 of them set up for a small, like a little 11-hand pony. The blue bucket is a 5-gallon bucket. It's a flat back, so it's designed to hang against a wall. And then how high do you hang the bucket? Well, that is determined by the size of your mount. So if it's a little pony, it's going to be hung low like the green bucket, or maybe even lower. And the blue bucket is set up for my horses here at home, and they're all around 16 hands, so it works perfectly. All right, and they should be hung at the height of the point of the shoulder. So when the shoulder comes to the point and at the top of the foreleg, it should be hung at that height. So the horse can easily get to it, but they're not going to get their feet in the bucket, hopefully. And then, of course, that would not be good. All right. I'm going to show you some other buckets and sizes of things to use. Well, actually, first I better go to how you hang them up. As you notice, mine were hung up just with a single or double-ended snap, and that is considered a breakaway. So I really don't want my buckets coming off the wall full of water. I want them to stay there. But if a horse did get a leg in the bucket, or somehow gets hooked up with their halter, or who knows, horses come up with all kinds of ways to get caught on things, then I want the bucket to come loose. But otherwise, I don't want it to come down. But the 2-ended snap, those break. So those are great. That's a simple setup, and I have screw eyes into the wood, and so that's a permanent setup in the barn. Okay, but when you travel to a show or to a rally, you typically can't put in these big, large screw eyes into the barn, because maybe it's a portable barn. Then you're not going to nail things. So you have to come up with other ingenious ways to hang water buckets. So very common is for people to use twine. All right, and so this twine here is natural twine or hemp twine. This twine, you do have to be careful. If I was to only use one strand, and it does come in different thicknesses. So if you have really, really thinner than this one here, you're going to have to maybe use multiple, maybe a whole 3 or 4 of them to make it strong enough so it doesn't break the first time the horse puts his head in the bucket and pushes down, maybe on the bottom. So this is very common. People like to have it so it will break away if the horse does get caught, and then you use your 2-ended snap. This twine does not break. This is baling twine, that's the plastic, that it doesn't break. So this is great for tying up fans that are out of the reach of the horse, but not water buckets. You could use this though with a double-ended snap, and the double-ended snap is then your breakaway. So if that's all you have, the double-ended snap becomes your breakaway, and you could use this. All right, we talk about these things in the horse management handbook, and also in the amplification, which is on the website. Bungee. Sometimes parents who don't maybe know much about horses, but they're like, oh, we got lots of bungees, great. Not great. So use these to hang up the fan if you need a fan, but not for the buckets. And the reason being is the horse could play, pull, snap, these come undone, and then it becomes a weapon. All right. And then sometimes at rallies, we will see people bring items like this. Could be used. You could put the end of the bucket on, but this one's not designed for that. This would be more like for a bridle rack, because if the horse gets to playing, this whole thing's just going to pop right off. And of course, and then you also don't know what the setup is on the edge of the stall. So maybe like on my barn here, this doesn't work on the edge. All right, so those are a few different things, but now let me show you some different buckets, because sometimes that's a confusion. So we have this bucket. All right, they've called pickle buckets or paint buckets. They're great, lots of water, but it's round, it's thin plastic, it breaks easily. Here, this one's cracked already. So a lot of times at rallies, members will use this as the top-off buckets that are left outside the stalls, and then quickly in the evening they can use this to top off, or it could be like for fire prevention. You've got a whole bunch of water that you can douse something with, but do not use this, because again, it's narrow, and so it may look like it's large, but it's long and narrow, and so very difficult for the horse to get his head in, especially a large horse. All right, then we have a round bucket, and my little green one that I showed you on the wall is a flat back, so it's designed, could be for water, but typically for grain or feed. These could be used as well for water, but it's not 5 gallon, it's only 2 gallons, so you would have to have multiple ones, and you would have to have 2 points of attachment, and it could go into the corner. Again, on a traveling situation where you're at a show or a rally, that's a lot of effort, so not the best choice. All right, then we have good old manure bucket. Not the best choice for water, but sometimes this is what people bring, and so we have to work with it, and because the horse has to have water. So it definitely goes in the corner of the stall. Pretty hard to adhere it to anything. It's just going to have to sit in the corner. If it has loops like this, that could be dangerous. Horse easily get a hoof through that, so they need to be taped down and maybe pushed in and taped down, or taped, however, duct tape, but so the loops are then hidden. I have had to help members use these before, because that's what they brought to rally, and we make it work. A lot of times though, it is dumped over by morning, and or the horse there's now a nice manure pile in the water in the bucket. So usually after a member brings this first time to a rally, they don't bring it again, because it's really a pain, and then you have a flooded stall when it happens to tip over when it's half full. Okay. So again, when hanging up a water bucket, it needs to be sturdy. A sturdy bucket needs to be 5 gallon. A horse needs to have 2 5-gallon buckets, and then You need to think about how you're going to attach it to the wall. Chains. I don't have any chains. A lot of times members will bring a chain that goes around maybe the bars in the stall, and they'll chain it and then use their two-ended snap, which is the breakaway, and hook the bucket. And then you can also adjust the heights. So twine and the chain are used a lot of times when you have to adjust the height. If you had an 18-hand horse versus the 12-hand pony or so on, you have to adjust. Again, you want the bucket at the height of the shoulders. Okay, just very quickly on feed tubs, since I'm doing this, and I just wanted to show two things. Once in a while, someone will come to a rally with this. You could use it as a water. Again, if you look at the kind of attachment, you could show up somewhere and it does not fit in my stall. Also, it's very difficult to actually keep it on the wall. It could be a feed tub that, if wherever you went, it worked to hook over something, but typical for grain. This goes along a wood fence out in the pasture. The most common members show up with either the little teeny green bucket I showed you, flat back. It's a nice little grain bucket, but it's a little small. It's more for a pony. But they'll show up with these flexible rubber buckets. So these are feed tubs that if the horse does lay down, it's not going to hurt. They'll just squish it. Maybe a little uncomfortable, but it's not going to hurt the horse nor the bucket. But these are great to feed grain in, and then you remove it when the horse is done, so to keep them safe. All right, so again, question is, how do you safely hang a water bucket? And you need to answer the question based on what you have, what things you have, where you're going, what the show or the rally or the facility has. And this is why we have a utility kit, because you never know. There are all kinds of things in there that you may need to use to be able to hang the water buckets up at the height that you need to hang them. So I hope you enjoyed that and learned a little something. So I'll see you in a little bit for the next question. All right, bye.